Good evening and welcome to tonight's conversation with the candidates hosted by the Houston Area League of Women Voters. The Houston Area League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to educating the Houston area about candidates and the various issues related to political campaigns. We want everyone to know that all candidates from all political parties are invited to join us for our conversations with the candidates. Tonight we are talking with the candidates running for Texas House 126, and we have one wonderful candidate who will be joining us. My name is Brandon Mack. I'm with the Houston Area League of Women Voters, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tanisha Alexander.
Good evening.
And tonight we will be talking with Dr. Andre Fizer. And to give you a little information, here's his bio. So Dr. Fizer earned his unique doctorates in religious education and humanities from Latin School of Theology in Los Angeles, California, and United Graduate College and Seminary in Jonesboro, Tennessee, respectively. He also received the Global Leadership Award for exemplary leadership at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for his work in various communities, schools, ministries, and businesses. He is the founder of Kairos Interglobal Incorporated, a personal vision and spiritual development organization that teaches principles of focus, purpose, and creative intelligence. He has certified strategists in various fields of industry, including media, finance, the National Basketball Association, entertainment, religion, and more. He is a best-selling author and founder of Divine House Books, an independent publishing company of new writers. He is also an accomplished jazz pianist. He is married to Bridget E. Fizer, a fashion designer and professor at Houston Community College, and is the father of 3 sons, Benjamin, Lauren, and Zion. Good evening, Dr. Fizer.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Doing very well.
You made me sound real good, man. I want you to repeat that. It sounds real good.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, so I'll turn over the first question to Tanisha.
Okay, Dr. Fizer.
Hey, Tanisha.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm well.
Let's do what we got to do.
Okay, thank you. So my first question would be, what are the attributes that you believe that you uniquely hold that qualifies you to serve in District 127? 126, sorry.
Wow, that's an awesome question. You know, I'm simply myself. You know, a lot of questionnaires that we complete in running this campaign will always ask you, what makes you better than the other candidate? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the other candidates, and I don't know what they believe and what drives them. All I know is that I authentically care for people. I never thought that my care for people would serve in politics or as a candidate. It's just human nature and compassion. That's how I was raised. And that's the core that I live from, the core value that I live from. But I believe in this present political climate, there needs to be a reassurance of everybody right now. I think people are hurt, and they're not really thinking of policy. They need to be reassured that we care for them. This present climate has caused fear in everyone, in every culture, race of people, gender. People are living on edge, and they're not really thinking about how you're going to do this and what taxes are going to do this and what are you going to do with my home, what you're going to do with with the freeways. They need to know that they're cared for. And I simply want to care for them. I want them to know that this political system isn't rigged like they think. It appears that way. But we need statesmen and diplomats, and I believe that I could be a positive and powerful diplomat for everyone to reassure them that their lives are going to be okay. I want constituents to look at those of us in the State House, and I want them to brag on us. And I want them to say, those guys have wisdom up there, like, wow. And right now that's not being done. And I believe that I could provide that fatherly care to my constituents and let them know that we're friends first, and then we're going to help you. I believe I possess that if people are willing to take a chance with that in this climate. You know what I'm saying?
So, speaking of the climate, what would you say are the three most pressing policy issues that District 126 is facing at this particular
Oh, it's
moment?
global. Healthcare, the DACA situation, we know that's a national situation. But in our district, we have undocumented workers that live there. You know, we have a brand mix of diversity in District 126, and also education. But right now, I believe the pressing issue is the lack of inclusivity in District 126. We have Muslims, we have Jews, blacks, whites, different religious people groups, and we're not coming together because you don't feel the vibe. You know, I just met you a little while ago.
This
and
is true.
You know what I'm saying? This is true. And how you felt. You say the energy is good in here. I imagine. See, that's when you have the proper statesman in your presence. You could vibe off of the truth of things. And I think we need the truth in our subdivision and in our district. I think we need that. But those are the pressing issues. Like I said, it's healthcare, it's education, immigration, and things like that. We're pretty prosperous. You know, you look at the demographics, folks are making money, but most folks rent in District 126. You have homeowners. Nobody thinks of the renters. You know what I'm saying? Who may have relocated there or what have you, or they're in a relationship. You know, we have different vibes and different people that are there. And I think the pressing thing is the need of the truth, the need of a vision, and the need of care. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I feel about it.
So before we dive deeper into some of those issues, why specifically run for this seat, and why specifically run for this particular political position? Because you can make a difference in a lot of different ways, but why run for this office?
Well, as you know, I'm an African-American man. I know when you saw me, you probably thought I was something, you know. I'm a black man. And a lot of the children and students in my district, they need influence, and they don't need someone in charge. They need a person they could respect. And I'm a beneficiary of the Affordable Care Act. A lot of this political situations didn't connect with me until it hit home. And I saw the lack of integrity and the lack of diplomacy that was coming from elected officials to people like me. Didn't know how to talk to us, you know. It made me feel like I wasn't human. And I know that I am. I know that I'm a significant person. But for a moment there, I felt like I was just a number and piece of data. Who's on insurance? And it moved me. I wanted to do something. I didn't know what to do. I'm 50 years old. I know my congressperson, Sheila Jackson Lee. I didn't know who my state rep was, and most of us don't know who our state rep is in our community. We have a great community, but some things don't move us like it may move another culture of people. And so I began to look to see what was going on, and I saw that we had state senators and people in elected office who were not for our values per se. And I said to myself, boy, what are we going to do? And my potential, have your potential ever spoke to you before? It'll just come to you and say, why don't you try it? It'll make you move farther in life than you normally have moved in life. And I heard my heart say, why don't you do something? Why don't you run? And I told myself, I don't have any money. I'm not a politician. I don't know how to talk like that. You know, 55% is given the budget here. Also, I didn't have that data language. But I took a step of faith, and I wanted to protect people with health care. I just wanted to see what I could do because it hit home. And I wanted people who were sick to feel like human beings. And so I thought about city council. You know, I thought about it. I'm a commissioned ambassador, like you said, a goodwill ambassador. So I spoke to my commissioning officer and talked to him about it. His name is Dr. Clyde Rivers. And I asked him, I said, what do you think? And he said, well, you know, pray about it and things like that. But I wanted to get in the best position to help with healthcare issues. And I believe, outside of running for president or running for governor, that this would give me a good start in at least spreading a positive message to people and speaking to these students in these schools that need a role model and they need influence. They need something. We live in a beautiful subdivision, a beautiful district. But it's a lack of character in people, and you want to be able to have the influence to go into any educational facility and speak to these students and be a father to them and show them purpose and vision. This is the thing that inspired me to pick this particular office for this time.
Now, one of the central issues that you brought up was that the community isn't together.
Yeah.
In what concrete ways through your office would you bring the community together?
Well, in order to bring them together, they first have to listen to me. They have to believe in what I'm saying. I may not fit the criteria, or I may not be the preference for some. It's funny how politics is about public service, but there are still issues where you're not the preference. And so we have to introduce some sort of value that will inspire a person to think beyond themselves, whether that be in the churches, in businesses, in schools, and things like that, senior citizen facilities. And maybe slowly we can inspire them to look beyond the preference. I may not be the color for them. I may not have the finances for them to make them feel that I'm this very rich guy. But if I could touch their core, their spirit, regardless if they're Democrat or Republican, maybe we could look beyond our comfort zone and reach out and connect slowly and get together on who we are and what we're going to do. And maybe we could change the whole concept of politics in our community. It seems impossible, but that's the thing that makes us great. You know, I believe John Kennedy said that at Rice University. We're going to send a man to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And I want to do it because it's a hard thing to do.
And another issue that you brought up was with respect to DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
Yes.
What do you think can be done with respect to that particular issue here in the state of Texas? And also, what is your position on sanctuary cities?
Well, basically, I want us to be cities that protect and provide love and care for everybody. I believe we can do it because we're human beings, and I want to bring out the humanity in all of us. I want to first of all see if we could remove the fear that's in the atmosphere. The first thing that we need to do is to establish ourselves as a safe haven and intentionally remove the fear of deportation and prejudices. And we need to be a type of government that releases or empowers or imparts dignity into everybody and push for proper citizenship. Push for that. We need to do that because folks are scared and they don't trust us. It's hard to talk policy in a climate where there is no trust, man. Nobody believes us. And we've been dealing with this for years. You know, we've been dealing with so many of these policies when it comes to immigration, till it's like Highway 290, forever being worked on, and every now and then an exit opens up, but it never fully connects to 610 the way it's supposed to. And we've been playing with this issue. But I believe we need to have a vision, and I don't know if a lot of people will go for that. In either party, I don't know. We can't use the immigration system as poker chips to play with people, because I think we're gambling with people's lives. But we need to remove the fear, first of all. We need to let those who are in that situation know that you're okay. We're not going to hurt you. And we could come up with a plan. And I think we need to fortify ourselves more as a safe city. I think we could do it if we try.
You kind of mentioned that there is kind of a lack of trust with respect to the government.
Yeah.
In what ways do you feel that you can kind of change that or inspire more trust?
Well, first of all, if we're not trusted in office amongst ourselves, because it's almost like the Democrats and the Republicans are in this constant civil war. It's like we're not brothers at all. Instead of one party being the offense and the other party being the defense, as we begin to help the constituents, we're constantly fighting with one another and special interests and lobbyists and playing poker and who's going to do this till people are just watching us. And I think we need to step out of this war and we need to look at our constituents as though they're our children, our offspring of the state. And they need to see their fathers. They need to see us as their fathers and their brothers and their family and their elders when it comes to wisdom. And they need to see that, and they need to connect with the love and the value that we have. When policies are made, you can feel whether that policy was made from love or hate. You can say, I'm doing this for the American people. But the value of the individual who's elected he or she will interject their own core thought into the making of a policy. And those who are affected by the policy will feel the love or the hate or the indecision in that policy. And I think we need to look at our area differently with love and compassion. And don't just play the game because it's time for an election and, photo ops, holding the baby, shaking hands of the people you hate just to get a vote. People are tired of that, and people can feel when you're not genuine. You can too. You know what I'm saying? You can feel people, and you know when they're lying. And you have enough sense to just put up with them and you'll be diplomatic with them okay. But you know when someone hasn't touched your heart. And so the constituents know when someone hadn't touched their heart either. And we've gotten so stuck in this conundrum till it looks like it's going to stay that way. But I think if we have some faith and some vision, we could step out of it and do something. I believe we could establish a trust, maybe not in the State House, but with our constituents. And that's going to make some great things happen. Thanks for asking that question, too.
Oh, you're more than welcome. But also a reality is the fact that you have to work across the aisle and with other people who you may not have agreed with or have established that trust. So in what ways would you be able to do that, or how are you envisioning in your role being able to do that so that we do get to the policies that need to happen to benefit the people in your district?
Well, just like you, and just like you, Tanisha, you discern, you feel the energy of where you need to go. You already know what you're getting involved in. Sometimes my political novicy, I'm just making up a word, novicity. Being a novice in it, you're overly noble. And people look at that nobility as a weakness, like, oh, he don't know what he's in for. It's like, yeah, I do. Because I'm imparting this to myself to let me know that this is why I'm doing this. And this is my force, and this is what I'm going to do. And I know how to feel a person, and I know when they're lying, and I know when they're truthful. And you have to know how to speak to the core value of the person to see if you could cause them to believe beyond themselves. And see if we could create something positive for people outside of a negative trade-off. Can we do it? Well, I've done it with people outside of politics. I've done it with businessmen. It's not manipulation. It's connecting with the human side of a person. And if we can't get the policy done, there is a way to go into the community and show them how to live powerful without a policy. You don't need a policy to be nice. You don't need a policy to live. You don't need a policy to start a company. And you don't need a policy to start your own company and stand out and believe in yourself. You don't need a law to help you believe in yourself. And if we can't get it done in the State House, the remaining time of my term, it's a 2-year term. You're in office in special session about 140 days. In session about 140 days, not counting special session. That means out of that 2-year term, you have another 590 days that you can work in the community and show them how to believe in themselves.
So speaking of working in the community, what do you believe the role of the state should be when it comes to dealing with devastations like Harvey?
Oh, wow. Harvey. Oh, my Lord. I don't think a lot of us expected. As a matter of fact, we didn't expect it. If the state looked at its occupants as children, as their own family, we would use that rainy day fund. We would use the funds to bring a restoration. We would do it outside of bureaucracy and red tape, who's going to agree with it or not. Now, that's what I would think. But I would think we should bring reassurance. We would bring education or experts, a team of experts to look at our rivers and reservoirs, first of all, look at the infrastructure. But then we need to establish some sort of educational concept to show people on which insurances to get. Most people were cheated out of certain insurances in certain places. They moved in certain areas where they didn't provide flood insurance. And then some of us were living in homes that were passed down from relatives, and we didn't have the deeds on those homes because most people can't afford the paperwork. We're in a prosperous subdivision, but as state rep, we're going to have to care for the whole state and not just Champions and 1960 and all of these areas. Most people have homes passed down to them, and their names are not on the deeds, and they lost it and couldn't get any benefits because the home wasn't theirs. So we need to provide education, and those who have homes need to take a step of faith and come and learn something too. It's not all the government's issues, but sometimes it could be ours. Our fear of learning, our fear of saving money, and investing more into the proper insurances and educations and transfers of deeds and stuff like that. But I believe since it was such a devastating surprise, I believe we should have done everything we could on it, helping to build lives, putting people in certain places to live without counting the costs of it, without raising taxes to do what's right. Sometimes just to do what's right comes at the expense of other things. And I believe we need to establish our government to do what's right because it's right. And I believe God would bless us if we take a step like that.
Kind of along the lines of that, what have been your thoughts with respect to both the state and the city's response to Harvey?
It was different. I guess they catered, from what I saw, to different areas more intentionally than others. We didn't get flooded out, but it affected me because I work in Beaumont too. And I lost around 8 or 9 checks. So I didn't make any money, and it hurt me. We did what we could to rescue people, but I believe the city responded to areas more intentionally than others. I don't know why. But I was also taken aback and proud of the churches and regular people like you and me who got in their trucks and helped people and got their boats out and did things themselves. I was happy about that. I think we're still looking at the response. Who took advantage of it? You know, it was so many different things with rescues, shelters, and then in other places, the food vouchers and things. Making sure people didn't cheat that system because you had people who probably didn't need it. Who was, you know what I'm saying? In catastrophes like this, it's kind of hard to measure the state's response and our reaction to what's going on because everything was a bit mixed. But I guess according to the desperation of the constituent, that would determine the pace of the government. You know, when you're desperate, nothing is fast enough. Nothing is right enough. I think we're still kind of in the mix of seeing what this is like. And I think we need to put a little bit more thought into it, you know?
So with the desperation in mind, let's kind of hone in on the elected officials in Austin, understanding the friction that has been taking place.
Oh, yeah.
Let's kind of go into that. How would you deal with the interactions with fellow lawmakers, whether, you know, you agree with them or don't agree with them?
Our value systems determine the friction. Most people who've never experienced a thing don't have the connectivity or the empathy on how to react to a thing like that. And it depends on who we have as the majority in our office that determines the value and the energy that comes from the office. Y'all follow what I'm saying? If you have the majority who've never felt what it's like to be human, and maybe they may look at their humanity as more entitled or advanced, but if you've never felt the common person and their need, it will establish how you respond to that. It's like this. I'm going to ask you a question. I could ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you were hunting, I don't know if you ever hunted, but if you did, and you were responsible for a community, and you went out into the wilderness and hunted this big boar, this big animal, and you killed it, who would you feed first?
Me personally, I would feed the ones who are most in need first.
Okay.
That'd be me personally.
Mm-hmm. Who would you feed first?
Probably the children and the women.
Okay, you have a family though, right? Mm-hmm. Would you feed your family first?
It depends on the situation.
Okay. Well, most people, if you would feed what's closest to you, if you went to hunt. And the next group of people you would feed may be your friends. And the last group would be people you may not know, but they would get the scraps of what you've gotten. When you go to the store, you're taking care of your home first. Yeah, you get the gist.
I get you.
All right. Well, maybe certain people who are in office may be valuing what they are accustomed to first. So those who they have a valuable connection with will receive the best of the appropriation. The next group to receive the appropriation may be those they would want to have relationships with. And those who get the tail end of the appropriation would be people who are not really in the system of it. Everyone has a value, but the priority of the value is different. Do you follow what I'm saying? So we would have to determine where are our fellow elected officials' value, where are the core thoughts that they have first, and see how can we bring a balance or a bridge from where their values are to where others are. And that calls for strong diplomacy and understanding.
Okay.
Even though we don't agree, we've lacked diplomacy. We've lacked it, and I believe we need more of it.
One of the most contentious issues that happened in this past session was in relation to bathroom laws and things of that nature.
Yeah.
What was your particular stance on those particular bathroom laws?
Well, I've screened with the LGBT caucus and the Stonewall and talked about that. And I understand where the caucus is coming from, but I also told them to establish a powerful dialogue. Let's see why there is fear with those who oppose it. I know what you want. Let's see why others are afraid of what you want. Instead of one group pushing the other and another one pushing the other. I haven't seen a positive dialogue. I've seen fights, I've heard curse words, I've seen signs, I've seen things, but what about the dialogue and the understanding of both sides? Now, I'm like this. If you are who you are in your community, I'm going to treat you like a human being. I'm not going to treat you as gay. I'm going to treat you as a human. You want to go to the restroom? Go to the restroom. Let's go to the restroom. Go. Should there be an announcement of it? And for those who are anti-community, what are the fears? What are the fears of the bathroom? What are the fears of people of different sexual orientations going to the bathroom and out? What are the issues? What are the fears? And I think we need to sit both groups down and we need to have a dialogue on it and an understanding. And right now, I don't believe that there is a positive understanding between the communities. And I would want us to have a round table and talk about it. What will you get for this? What's the fear of this? Do you understand why this group fears this? Do you understand why this group wants to go? And can we come to a decision in the middle? My personal decisions on it is really irrelevant because I'm like, if you want to go, I'm like, okay, I'll go, because I'm treating you as a human. Your love interest is your love interest. But in the scope of humanity, I'm like, hey, you go. Is there a law being broken? Has it been factored in that there's been some violence or acts of distrust or something inhumane that's going on? And from what I understand, there hasn't been any issues of that. We need to take that into account. But I think when you're dealing with people with different spiritual thoughts on a lot of things, it's gonna be hard to legislate a spiritual thought. It's going to be hard to take convictions and make a policy out of convictions. It's going to be hard. So you're going to have an understanding from both sides. And I would push for that. I would push for that. An understanding of both sides, you know.
Another big contentious issue that's going on, especially here in Houston, is related to the Houston Independent School District,
Oh,
and
yeah.
HISD.
Yeah.
What have been your particular thoughts on the recapture issue and its impact on HISD schools?
Wow. I'm going to tell you, for the school situations, I haven't thought a lot on the policy issues on the schools. I've been really thinking about the effectiveness of the students, especially in underserved communities. And I've been thinking about their ability to learn. I've been thinking about what are we doing as a district to empower these students' capacity to learn and to value education. Right now, I don't see a lot of value of education in these communities. I see a lot of things being established to keep them from going to prison. We don't want this to be a pipeline to prison. We don't want this. I've been seeing a lot of that, especially amongst African American students. It's always African American students, and we want to keep them from going to jail. We want to do this to keep them out of prison. We don't want this to be to prison. And so it's telling me something, that we're missing something at home. We're missing something with the proper connection with their home life and their value, and what purposes can we bring out in these students. And I've been thinking of that. I believe if we can empower the students more, if we can empower the children to become students. Just because you're in school, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a student. Most people are just children going to school to eat and having a place to go, but they're not learning. And my mind has been, how do we save them? How do we help them? How do we empower these public schools to be more of a haven of understanding and purpose for these children? Because the lifestyle of these students and the lifestyle of these children is establishing some sort of energy that's being misinterpreted by the powers that be. And it's causing them to react to those schools in the energy of the misplacement and the displacement of those children. If the children are not learning and becoming everything, we're going to come up with all kind of possibilities to save the district in a certain sort of way. But the thing is, it's those kids, especially in these underserved areas. That's been my primary thought.
So just to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, what do you feel you could do at the state level to make sure that those particular schools are getting the funding and the resources that they need in order to address a lot of those systemic issues that are going on?
I'm glad you. Give me 5 from back there, Pop. Don't leave me hanging on the TV, man. You got to give me 5 when I ask you to give it.
Yeah, I got you.
When I ask you to give it, you got to give it. You leaving me hanging on the thing on the TV. You got to come on with it. I'm a product of the public school system. And I've always had a connection with the neighborhoods and our character. I would try to establish a life reform bill. And I thought of this life reform. It's almost like a spiritual mentoring potential legislative bill. How to go in the neighborhoods and provoke understanding and core value. We need to establish a core value with these kids. They need to have something to live for. They need to pick their pants up and They need to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and no, sir again. And they don't say it. It's just, yeah. And we've grown accustomed to that old-fashioned living, which really is not old-fashioned. You know what I'm saying? When the last time you heard yes, ma'am? Just,
I still say it.
yeah.
But it's a different generation.
I know
It's a
it.
different understanding.
Yeah, I know
And
it.
respect is given in so many different ways.
I know it. What I'm saying is it's not just what you say, but in the seizing of a core value. Just because this generation is different don't mean that they're dead. Vision is still vision. Value is still value. Whatever you value, you will live for and you will move for. But if you don't want it, you won't go there. And we have to show them the right thing to go for and to show them that it's rewarding. And then we have to let the state know, look, let's not give up on them. Let's push for this. Let's push for this. Let's make this happen. But we've been having this problem for years, man. We've been having it for years. So we're going to have to become our own activists. And we're going to have to raise up families some sort of way. We're going to have to connect with families some sort of way and find out, what do you need? Instead of us telling you what you want and what you need to do, what do you need? We need to listen. When is the last time you heard state officials actually listening and allowing what they heard from the constituents to be proven valuable and to do something about it? We always say, your vote is your voice. But just because you talk, it doesn't mean that you have a voice. You have a voice when you're heard and respected. And if we could establish the generation to be respected, then they'll have a voice. Right now, they're just talking. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if we showed them how to talk and have respect, and if we could hear them and respond, then we could do something. Man, I'm just going to be that guy that just pushes for that. And even if they don't give us the policies, I'm going to be that guy that goes to those schools and personally be there myself and talk to them myself, because they need to see that. It's almost impossible, but it's not. Maybe I could start the current going. And you are right, this is a different generation. But love is still love, and vision is still vision, and that'll never go out of style. You all right? I'm making you laugh over here. She said, I don't get this.
So let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
How would you like to improve that? What challenges? Let's talk about maybe the top 3 challenges that you see, okay. And then your action items for those top 3 challenges that you see with healthcare, and especially mental health.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you said that. Like I said, that hit home to me because I'm a beneficiary of the Affordable Care Act that so many people have different perspectives on. It didn't hurt me, quote unquote, financially, but it saved my life. I look very healthy. I'm functioning on 23% kidney function right now. I'm not even on dialysis.
Wow.
So that's a miracle, man. Uh-huh. And I'm not a data guy. I just know that when people feel worthy, they live. And when the lack of communication was given, people died because they felt thrown away. They felt irrelevant. And I spoke to senior citizens, and I spoke to officers who dealt with mental health, especially in the African American community. It's almost like taboo in our community. You know, you crazy? Get over there, boy. You know, it's like he may be bipolar. He may have this. We didn't understand that. We never didn't, and we probably still don't in some places. And forgive me for that.
Okay.
We need a heart, and with the proper heart of compassion, we can see what to do. Love will show you what to do. And I think love and politics haven't been together in a long time. And just my love is to, let's see where we could fix the costs. Let me find a team who really understands expenditures and the system, and let's see what we can do to fix the costs. Let's see if we could find people to provide it. There are certain doctors in our community, from the Muslim community, that give free health care to people. I'm like, wow. I mean, free. Dental, diabetes, everything for nothing. Compassion. Compassion. And I think if we can put compassion in our policy, we could make it work for mental health. But we have to remove the stigma from our African American communities to show them, come on, it's okay. And right now, we, as a whole, we don't feel it's okay. And you can't legislate a person's choice and how they feel about themselves. You could put a policy there, but if they don't feel to respond, it's just a policy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But there's so many more communities that deal with mental health.
Yeah.
And, you know, the lack of insurance and that sort of
Yeah.
thing it goes across the board with all communities.
And yeah. And so you ask, and I relate to mine. Certain cultures may have more of a financial advantage. They see it differently. You see, sickness doesn't care what you have in the bank. One thing about mental health, it doesn't look at what you have in your account. It hits in different phases, from depression to anxiety to different things. And everybody has a stigma about it, at how they're going to go about it. You won't go to get insurance for something that you're afraid to have. If you feel that you are crazy, it's like, I'm not going to get therapy. I'm not going to do it. So most people don't even go to connect with it for it to work, because you can't force an action from a human being. But I believe if some sort of way, if we could create pockets of advisors and diplomats and advocates to talk to various communities, to ensure checkups and screenings and things like that, and if we could expand that in our insurance, that would really be great. You know, that's what I think about it for now.
So would you team up with some of the existing organizations that are doing some of these things in the community?
I mean, that's a given.
Okay.
Yeah, and you see how to expand it. I don't have a quote-unquote political answer for things.
Okay.
I have a human answer on it. I'm a constituent, man. I'm a constituent that's moved by what's going on.
What about the opioid epidemic? There's a bill that's being passed, and they're going to fund it with billions of dollars because it is killing people on a daily basis. What is your thoughts about that?
I haven't given much thought about the opioid situations. Drugs kill those who use them. They don't kill if you don't use them. We need to find out why they're being used. What's going on with people who seek. I think it killed Prince, I believe. I think Prince was dealing with some of those things, I believe. We need to find out why people are using anything. And what is the stage of life that's going on that's causing people to go that way? Why are they feeling the need of using that? What is their need that's causing them to respond inappropriately for that? I think that's what we need to find out. And I think that's that's a personal question. I believe government needs to do everything it can to keep that from happening. But that's a human question. What's wrong with us that's causing us to go that way?
So let me ask you something. As a state representative, you're expected to be on boards and committees. What would be your top 3 interests as far as a board or a committee that you feel like you can make the most difference in?
Urban affairs. I wish I could be on urban affairs.
Okay.
Just to be in the community, to truly represent, you know. I believe that's what a state rep is. It's to be the voice and the advocate of a community, to hear the need of a community and find out how we could make it better.
And what's your other 2?
Health care, I wouldn't mind being on there. And the other one would be the immigration, basically for the sake of removing the fear, because that's how I see things. I look at the fear. Most people are just everyday people, Tanisha. They don't know nothing about all of this stuff. You could ask questions, opioid. I'm like, most people don't even think about that. They're trying to get home. They stopping at Popeyes and getting a 2-piece spicy white. Used to be 2-piece, now it's 1.5 piece. It's like that.
It is Tuesday.
He said, it's Tuesday. He said, I'm going there when we leave here. I felt that prophetically. Say he's going, it's 99 cents. I'm going to pick that up when I leave here. These people buying chicken and going home. They're going, hopefully the cable will still be on. They're trying to decide if they're going to pay the cell phone bill or the light bill, but the cell phone is the only phone they have in the house because everybody doesn't have a home phone anymore. And they don't think about that. So a lot of these questions you're asking me are so cool, and they're great political questions, and maybe people around the city and state are listening at me and wondering, am I answering these questions very politically or not? I'm a human being. I'm an everyday person. And I need to bring the State House to everyone's house. And I need to show them how to build a bridge of diplomacy and understanding. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't study politics in school. I'm a person. And I think we are lacking a human touch. And all I want to do is be a human. And they could look up and say, he came to our senior citizen home and sat down and he read the Bible with us today. And then I want another person to say, you know, Representative Fizer came and shot some basketball with us today. And then I want another one to say, he came to our church today and just sat with us today and he played a little keyboard too. Because that's what we're missing. Because we're busy watching people who are lawyers and millionaires and people who've studied policies. We're watching that. And we're missing the human touch. And our humanity is falling away and it's falling short. And that's why healthcare is dead. That's why drugs are rising. That's why they're looking to push, should we legalize weed and that? I'm like, oh, Lord, come on. You're going to lose your job because you were smoking something legal, but your job, it's going to give you a drug test and you're going to lose your job smoking something legal. Come on now. We're missing common sense. We're missing vision. We're missing understanding because we're catering to one culture who has everything. And like you said, this country is mixed with a lot in this gumbo, and we're catering the state to people who have everything. And they're missing other people who only have Popeyes and churches, who can't afford to eat right, who are dying of diabetes and kidney functions, and lack of kidney function and things. And we're forgetting about them because we are turning the whole conundrum to a group that has everything. And we need to share. And we need to share. Yeah, that's my thought on everything.
So, in closing.
You okay? Are you ready to go?
No.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sitting here crying up here.
Oh, no.
It's all right?
It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Go ahead, in closing.
So, I'm going to ask you two things.
Okay. Hopefully I can answer.
Because you talk about humanity.
Yeah.
Who has influenced you the most?
Oh, wow. I have a mentor named Wilson Douglas. He was in League City when I was coming up, stepping out on my own to do Kairos, my own vision. He showed me how to put things together, how to have peace in myself. And then another father of mine, he passed away. His name was Myles Munroe. And I used to write, you know him? I used to write for Dr. Munroe. I was one of his writers for his leadership magazine. I met Dr. Myles Munroe in 1996, and he watched me for 8 years before asking me to join his leadership group. He just wouldn't see you and make you a member. He had to watch to make sure you're not a one-hit wonder. He had to watch you. And he asked me to join him in 2004, and I started writing for his magazine. And in one of the magazines, they published Myles on top and published me at the bottom. Dream come true. And Miles would be so happy right now because he showed me how to walk in my own voice. I had it, but sometimes you're afraid to walk in it. You know what it's like to have an idea, but I don't know if I can walk in it. And he showed me how to walk in it. And that influenced, that helped me. It helped me, and it showed me how to start my own company and help other people and certify them to walk in their own purposes and vision. And I have people who play for the Charlotte Hornets who I taught when I lived in California, and different individuals who live in Charlotte who are radio hosts and TV hosts. And we had conversations just like this round table. Hope I didn't throw that out of my mouth. He said, wow. But I began to deal with them, and it's like I would do the same thing as a state rep. I believe I've been representing all my life. I'm just stepping into this thing called politics, and I know I don't look the part. And I'm like, what is the part? They say you may not sound the part. Well, how does that supposed to sound? Are we supposed to represent? And I'm going to take that same influence of purpose and connectivity, and hopefully I could infect the State House with it, or infect a friend with it, or if I can't, maybe I could infect the community with it.
So,
and I'll be their champion with it.
What do you want
Oh, boy. Man.
everyone to take away with from this? Out of all the things that's been said here tonight,
Oh, wow.
what is the one key factor that you want seared in every person watching this mind?
Have faith. Let's take a chance. Sometimes you have to go with the odd person, and you have to overcome the fear of going with the odd person and being odd too and making change happen. Change can't be made casually. It has to be intentionally. And I want them to listen with virtue. I want them to listen and say, I feel him. I may not understand everything he says. He may not sound comfortable to me, but I feel something true about him. And if we're going to make a change, they're going to have to take a chance on truth and oddity, because sometimes greatness is odd. And sometimes wisdom will come in a way that isn't convenient and isn't perfect or comfortable. But if we're going to make a change, sometimes we're going to have to seize what's odd and go with it and take a chance. And I believe they feel it, because I wouldn't do this on my own. I'm not going to die. I'm sitting at this table with 23%. I'm not going to die. I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. Woo! He said, yep.
Well, we want to actually give you the last word. So if you would, speak directly to the voters as to why you should be the next representative for House District 126.
Oh, wow. Do I just look?
Just feel free to look.
Hey, I'm Andre Fizer. I know some of you may have watched me today and wondered, what is he talking about? You've seen me cry. I have a lot to cry about, but it's tears of joy and peace. You should vote for me, because I'm going to care for you. I care for you now, and I'm not going to let you hurt. I love my wife, and I can't swim. But if I'm walking with my wife and she slips in the water, I'm going to dive in after my wife, and I'm going to save her. And we're not going to drown. You know why? I'm going to come back. And that's how I feel about where we are in this present political climate. It's enough to make you drown. And a lot of people are not, quote unquote, professionally qualified to swim in this climate. But when there is passion and purpose and destiny, you'll dive in the water and you'll save your human beings, you'll save your friends, and you're going to come back. You're going to come back. And I want you to believe in me. I believe that you do. And I don't know how I'm looking right now, because I'm looking straight at you. But I believe you know that my heart is pure. And we need a pure heart in this environment right now to make things work. We're not perfect, but we need purity. We need humanity. We need love. We need empathy. We need diplomacy. We need some wisdom. And we can't beg for it. So I need you to take a chance. You're not going to hurt voting for me, because I'm going to listen to you. Because a lot of the things that's going on in the government right now is not really your problem. Your problem right now is how do you feel living here? A lot of the games we play on what's this game and what's this policy, that don't even affect you. You just need to know that you are right and that you're going to be okay. And I want you to take a chance on Andre Fizer. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Fizer, for joining us.
Thanks,
So
man.
that wraps up tonight's conversation with the candidates. On behalf of the League of Women Voters Houston, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Brandon Mack, and along with my wonderful co-host here, Tanisha Alexander, we'd like to thank you and encourage you to go and vote in this March primary. Early voting will start February 20th, and we look forward to hopefully you joining us for future conversations. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.